We're getting a little bit of a better picture of how this election shaped out and why Donald Trump won. As I said, the House is still up for grabs. The most likely outcome is probably a really slim majority for the Republicans, but the Democrats still insist that the results that are coming in late in states like California will be enough for them. We'll see. It's extremely difficult to ascertain right now, but the one silver lining that's emerging really is that's even being generous, but that Harris and Walz's campaign did do significantly better in the swing states than the national slippage for the top of the ticket. And that does mean that the aggressive campaigning in those states did help. The door knocking, the rallies. The swing towards Trump nationally was 6.7 points as of yesterday, although there's still like 8% of the total vote total to be tallied. But in those swing states, it was 3.1 points. So it means that the ground game and good campaigning, which again, Hillary didn't do, Harris and Walz blanketed the swing states, that it did work to an extent, but the problem is that even if you have a robust ground operation, you have to be able to deliver something when you're communicating that via that operation. And that's really what we're seeing is a rejection of this kind of politics and a rejection of Biden and to some extent Harris's record on inflation and the economy. Ground game helps when you have something more to offer. And
that's a worldwide trend, right? Like with one exception, Claudia Sheinbaum, which I'm sure we'll talk about in the future, there was a massive anti-incumbency thing because of this, COVID, the COVID economy and crisis. And I do agree that by certain metrics, American recovery was well handled. And part of that is just our power as a country in general.
And you see that Democrats, oddly, people were trolling a little with this take, but they overperformed some of those other incumbent parties. And that's shocking given how poorly they did. But the case study is Mexico. If Biden had a record and an approval rating like AMLO, Democrats would be in a very different situation with a female successor.
And like the amount of the type of affirmative agenda for social safety net that was promised there, I think.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. And maybe the story. And the biggest Trump swings is kind of what we predicted now that we're seeing. It's in these blue states. Polling indicates New Jersey would have flipped red if Biden was still in the race. Like New Mexico could have flipped red if Biden was still in the race. Virginia. This was going to be a bloodbath. And this stopped the bleeding a little bit. So again, the idea that we couldn't defeat this guy is insane, but when you look at these headwinds, it makes a little bit more sense. And, this needs to be a complete reimagining of the Democratic Party and these politics, and we need to coalesce behind a New Deal style agenda for this country. But let's look at this analysis here.
Or do you want to wait?
Yeah, let's wait for this.
Okay.
Can we just go to Dave Weigel's analysis of the swing states, just because I'm on this point right now? This is Dave's analysis of the results, because her losing the popular vote is really that function of this massive drop-off in the more populous solid blue or red states too. But in the swing states, they did overperform at least where it counted. Weigel says still seeing Harris couldn't turn out millions of Biden voters, and the count in swing states says that's not true. In Wisconsin, Harris got 37,000 more votes than Biden, the most votes of any Democratic candidate since Obama in 2008. She lost because Trump added 77,000 more votes since 2020. Again, that is also extremely concerning and should make Democrats reevaluate their strategy, especially this suburban orientation. Weigel says
there's more people that earn under 100,000 than make more than 100,000. I mean, who would have thought?
Yeah, and that is the unwinding of the Obama coalition, and it was easier to do because of austerity politics. So,
and it's a huge problem that the Democrats, even Biden, like I was still saying, like, look, poor people vote for Democrats to the extent that they vote, and in large part they are depressed. They're depressed.
Yeah.
To the extent they get to the polls, they vote Democrat. It's a huge problem that has changed.
right. Yeah, exactly. And you were saying that. You were right about that. Here, Weigel says she's very close to Biden 2020 raw vote in Michigan and Pennsylvania. Had Trump just recreated his 2020 vote, he would have lost Michigan and Pennsylvania, would be too close to call still, but he added 151,000 votes in Michigan, 108,000 votes in Pennsylvania. In Georgia, Harris overperformed. He's pointing out there Biden. Trump added 200,000 votes. North Carolina, Harris outran Biden by 4,000 votes. Trump added 120,000 votes.
And do you think part of this might be like Trump's vote was depressed because of COVID in 2020?
That is right. And the Democrats didn't respond in an adequate way that met the moment. They allow, I blame Joe Manchin and Sinema a lot for this, but there was a pivot in 2022 in the Biden administration with the departure of Ron Klain and Jeff Zients being his chief of staff, who was from the corporate world, as opposed to Klain being in the political world. And all of these initiatives kind of dropped off in favor of let's bloat the military budget and send as much arms to Ukraine. Again, I support arming Ukraine, but like not at the expense of other options.
People better not be seeing their rent and health care prices and stuff go up.
Right. And then Israel, which exacerbated that problem as well. And then like I'm also seeing that, she's going to lose 15 million more votes than Biden. The count in California and like Arizona is not over yet. So she's still going to lose the popular vote. But in the swing states, campaigning still worked. That's the one real silver lining here. And it just makes it so clear that her biggest mistake was not distancing herself more from Biden. And, I don't know if she could have even done that as sitting VP, if that would have stretched credulity. That's just the facts of the situation. But she did remain loyal to Biden the entire time, pretty much. And it's interesting. How did the Biden team reward her? Well, this was yesterday. A reporter asked Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre about whether Biden showed arrogance staying in the race as a deeply unpopular 81-year-old incumbent who had heavily implied that he would be a bridge candidate for a new generation when he got into office. This was her response.
A lot of criticism in the last couple of days directly addressed at President Biden for some of the questions that have already been asked. Running in the first place or not stepping aside faster. Some of that criticism has also been directed at his team and the advisors around him for advising him to do what he did. Can you address that criticism?
To do what he did, meaning?
Running again, not stepping aside faster, and showing what some people say, quoting folks here, an arrogance of believing he was the only one who could beat Donald Trump.
I mean, you said something at the end that I do want to just kind of reiterate and remind folks, and it was a good reminder to me, which is like, look, this is the president who has been the only person has been able to beat Donald Trump. I mean, that is true. In 2020, he was able to do that. There were more than 20 candidates who tried to beat him, and he was the one that has been able to do that. I talked about what happened in the midterms, how it was historical for a new administration in more than 60 years to have been able to have that type of outcome from the 2022 midterms when everybody said it would be a red wave. What I will also say is that he's incredibly proud of the campaign that this vice president.
Oh, sure. Okay, whatever. I don't need to hear anymore. I don't need to hear anymore. It is. You did not. The Democrats outperformed in 2022 because of Dobbs, despite you.
Yep.
Literally
Despite you. Like, there was reporting that Mike Donilon, one of his top advisors, thought that they overperformed in 2022 because Biden was more moderate on abortion, that he thought it was icky as a Catholic. What? What?
I mean, should we play Biden? I mean, I could find Biden's abortion answer in the debate when he started talking about migrant killing somebody.
Yeah, Noah from Tampa writes, and he won the primary because of Jim effing Clyburn. That's exactly right. And Obama.
Exactly, and Barack Obama.
So they're gesturing towards the like crumbling institutions that propped Biden up in the primary to stymie Bernie's rise, and taking that as some sort of validation that he was a transformational candidate or figure. Ridiculous.
You beat a guy during a giant pandemic where he was talking about injecting bleach into their bodies.
And this is the thing is like why I'm not really gonna move on this whole point about the misogynoir and the misogyny here is like they're just letting the strategy is just like, okay, we decided we were going to pick a black woman to be VP for identitarian reasons. We selected Kamala Harris. We sidelined her the entire time. We made her the border czar because this was an unpopular issue for us. We didn't want her relatively youthful age to outshine Biden. And then she has to get to the front of this candidacy. And there were mistakes that were made. But because she wasn't able to make up for his extreme unpopularity, now it's like, oh, well, it was Biden. He was the only one who was able to defeat Donald Trump. Without COVID, this is just like honestly validation 4 years later as to what we were saying, because a lot of liberals, I was very skeptical that Biden could defeat Donald Trump prior to COVID. And a lot of liberals look back on that and they say, oh, how wrong progressives were.
We need to do the safe thing and pick Joe Biden.
No, if it wasn't COVID, if there wasn't COVID, there's I think a really good chance that Biden would have gotten reelected.
I remember feeling like we skated by at the time.
Yeah, we did. I mean, and the margins were extremely thin across those swing states, and it ended up biting them in the ass, obviously. And so, yeah, it's just like the arrogance too of just them seeing that their strategy is validated in any way is really concerning to me. And luckily, these dinosaurs are going to be out of office and hopefully not be taken seriously in the Democratic Party. It seems to be that the consensus in Washington is that this was Biden's fault. But, you know, Chuck Schumer, I saw Bhaskar Sankara had a short piece that was really good in The Guardian with the quote that I'd forgotten about Chuck Schumer saying, for every blue-collar Democrat we lose in Western Pennsylvania, we will pick up 2 moderate Republicans in the suburbs in Philadelphia, and you can repeat that in Ohio, Illinois, and Wisconsin. And I had thought that in 2022, it looked like, oh, maybe they can skate by on this strategy, and it seemed like they might have been able to do that, and I thought they could in 2024. They can't. It's a failure. This needs to be a complete reimagining of what Democrats offer people. A New Deal style, bold economic vision, a charismatic, populist, progressive, leftist leader emerging in the 2028 primary is the outcome on the presidential level that we need to engender. On the local level, we need to be building up resistance groups and leftist organizations to put forward our candidates. That is all work that we're going to begin doing in the aftermath of this. But to see that response after it was Biden's stubborn decision to, I'm staying in the race, stick around, even with those historic unfavorables and with his inability to communicate. He couldn't communicate. Even if the Democrats want to be like, it's the voters' fault for not seeing how good we were for them. It doesn't matter because Biden couldn't communicate it, and also it's not being felt down in people's pocketbooks.
Let's go.
So, like, learn something. And let's not throw Harrison Walls under the bus, who, in the end of the day, did the best they could with the set of circumstances.
The truth is, like, the only bright side of this is that, like, if they would have been able to win with the Cheney route, it would have meant, like, I don't know if there's a lot of room for like grassroots political action. This kind of resounding loss not only shows that there's room for it, there is a need for it, because these people cannot be trusted to, say, maintain the advances that have been won by previous rights movements even. And so we need to get involved. And I think these people are, if Trump can beat them with this shitty campaign, because I think this campaign was not a good campaign.
Awful.
I think it was beatable. I think that the Democrats are also beatable too. And, you know, part of that is we need to lessen the influence of a little guy named Barack Obama because
Well, this is a reject. His enough with this Obama infrastructure nostalgia. Him and Michelle Obama campaigning for her all of October didn't make a difference. Yeah. We build anew. And we build it in the style of a Bernie Sanders vision, the coalition that he built in 2016, that the Democrats broke apart. We begin to rebuild that starting today.
And also kind of the Jesse Jackson one. Let's actually let one of these, let's actually not strangle these in the crib every time that they start trying to redeem the Democratic Party into something, this nation can actually be proud of.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.